As the Detroit Lions get set to go against the Los Angeles Chargers on Sunday, an already exciting and intriguing matchup is getting set to play out against the Lions offense and the Chargers defense. We're going to talk about it in today's episode, folks, so stay tuned. It started with an owner who had a last name fans despised, hiring a coach that the experts thought was crazy,
But I got a plan, I swear to you.
who traded for a QB that was said to be washed up. They said the Detroit Lions would never amount to anything, that it would always be the same old Lions. But this team, our team, has a new identity, defined and expressed by the crazy head coach,
Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and three toes, I will beat your ass.
led by the QB that nobody thought was good. Motor City Mania is in full swing and ready to start. So join the show and be prepared for kneecap biting, because Motor City Mania starts right now. Hello everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of MCM, Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike, and we're diving in right now. As always, to those that are just coming back to the show, I just want to say thank you all for coming back. Thank you all for your view, your support, your patronage. Thank you all for everything that you do. And for those that are tuning into my show for the very first time, I just want to say welcome in. Hopefully you guys enjoy the content, and hopefully I gain your subscription if I've deserved it and earned it. And I just want to say to everybody, God bless, and let's dive into the content. So, as I said before, I am back. I am officially getting back into making content again. I had to take a small hiatus as I was moving across the country from Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio, Texas, to Fort Drum in New York. Again, that's part of the reason why I was in a bit of a bye week of myself along with the Lions. I wasn't making any content, but I'm now back. Let's get into making content. So here's the thing, folks. When we talk about the Lions, we talk about the Chargers. This game that they've got coming up on Sunday, it's a pretty important game. It's a pretty big game for both teams, regardless of whatever way you want to slice it. When you take a look at the Chargers, this game is important to them because, well, they're 4-4. They just won a game against the Jets on Monday Night Football. They're 500. The season is halfway over. Hard to believe it's already halfway over, but it is. The season's halfway over, and the Chargers are sitting at 500, so they're sitting at an even record. Well, that's both good and bad. One, the Chargers would like to have been a little bit further along than where they are right now. I guarantee you that. But the good thing is that, okay, if they can get a win against the Lions, they can start stacking those wins and start building some momentum into the second half of the year, right? Well, that's why the game's important for the Chargers. Well, for a similar reason, it's also important to the Lions for that. So think about it this way, folks. The Lions, they're just now coming off their bye week, right? They're 6-2. They're in the lead. How do I put this? They're in the driver's seat for the NFC North Division. They're the second team seed in the NFC Conference right behind the Eagles. The Lions are sitting pretty right now. That's all great and grand and glorious. You did a really great first half of the season job. But now what the Lions need to do is they need to do the exact same thing in the second half of the season that they did in the first half of the season. They need to start stacking those wins. They need to start building momentum. This is a great game for the Lions to do that because it's like, okay, you've had a week to rest up. You've had a week to watch and study the game film. This Chargers team that you're getting set to play against also is coming off of a very short, well, not a very short week, but a shortened week because they had to play on Monday Night Football. So one, while you've had more time to view their game film, they're going to have less time to view your game film. And on top of that, you've had more time to rest and get healthy. They have had none. So again, this is a very good advantage for the Lions to get that win and get that ball rolling, get that momentum going into the second half of the year. So again, very, very crucial game for both opponents, both the Lions and the Chargers. Now, as I do every week, I like to take a look at both sides of the ball for the opposing teams that are about to play. So in this case, the Lions and the Chargers. The Lions are my home team. They're my favorite team. So, the reason why we're going to talk about the Lions offense today, part and parcel, is because of the fact that I've read some comments from Lions fans that have expressed some concern, have expressed some worry about the Chargers defense. So I was like, okay, we'll start there. So without further ado, we'll actually take a look at that. So, when we take a look and when we think about the Lions offense, this is an offense that is definitely top 10. And it's top 10 when you just watch it on film. It's top 10 when you listen to all the analysts and the talk pundits talk. This is an offense that is very, very high octane. It's very potent. It's very powerful. But that's just talk, and that's what you see. When you actually start reading and you actually start taking a look at the statistical analysis like I do, it even further backs it up. I'm going to try and put all the stats up on the screen as best I can, and we're going to talk about them here. If not, I do apologize in advance. But without further ado, let's take a look at this. So, when you take a look at the Lions offense in terms of its statistical prowess, take a look at these numbers if you can. They're ranked 11th in points. They're ranked 7th in yards. They're ranked 11th in first downs. They're ranked 10th in passing yards and in rushing yards. They're ranked 7th in passing first downs. They're ranked 10th in rushing first downs. They're tied 5th in terms of overall penalties, which is good because the less penalties, the better. They're ranked 12th in scoring drive percentage. They're ranked 13th in turnover percentage. They're ranked 5th in first down percentage. They're ranked 13th in third down conversion percentage. And they're tied 3rd in passes of 20 yards or more, and they're tied 9th in terms of rushes of 20 yards or more. Now, that's a whole bunch of information. I know it, and it's a lot to digest, so let me break it down for you. Most of those statistics that I gave you show two main things: the efficiency and the consistency of the Lions offense, because virtually almost every stat, I think out of all of them, only 5 of them are outside of the top 10. That shows, one, again, top 10 offense. But again, like I said, most of the stats are looking at the consistency and the efficiency of the Lions offense. Again, passing first downs, rushing first downs, pass yards, rush yards, conversion percentages, yards, points, blah, 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 blah. You get the picture. But there's one there's one stat out there that provides evidence, I have my words backwards, that shows the explosive factor of the Lions offense, which is something I haven't necessarily talked about as much on this show, but I'm going to do so here. There's a reason why I included the passes of 20 yards or more and the rushes of 20 yards or more, because considering upon who you talk to, people would say that an explosive play is one of 15 to 20 yards or more. Well, if you go to NFL.com, they have a statistical algorithm which shows when a team has either a pass of 20 yards or more or a rush of 20 yards or more. So I figured that would show the explosive factor for the Lions offense. When you take a look at those statistics, the Lions are top 10 in both of those categories, and one of them they're top 5 in. So again, what am I demonstrating? Here's what I'm getting at. 1, the Lions are extremely consistent. In order to get to top 10 status, you have to be consistent. Number 2, the Lions are extremely efficient. They don't get penalized a lot. They convert a lot, so that way they're not stalling out their drives. Again, another earmark of a top 10 offense. And finally, this is a very explosive offense. Again, when you're ranked top 5 in terms of explosive passing plays and top 10 in terms of explosive running plays, you're definitely doing something right. So again, the Lions have the trademark earmarks of all things that you look for in a high-octane offense: consistency, efficiency, and explosiveness. That is something that this Lions offense has, something that we've all expected and seen from this Lions offense for the last 2 years. So that's the Lions offense. Now let's take a look at the Chargers defense, which is where, again, some Lions fans that I have read have expressed some concern. Now, when you take a look at this Chargers defense, again, mind you, this Chargers defense is led by a defensive-minded head coach, right? That's number 1. And also, I want to point this out because I just remembered this and forgot about it. All those stats that I just talked about with the Lions offense, that was with a bye week included that they just had. So again, their offense is still top 10 despite the fact that they're missing a game versus some other opponents. Now, take a look at this, folks. When you take a look at the Chargers defense, this is a defense that with having a defensive-minded head coach, it definitely makes your eyebrow kind of want to do a little pop-up and be like, okay, how exactly is this team doing this bad with a defensive-minded head coach? But take a look at the numbers. Again, if I get them up there, if I don't get them up there, I apologize, but hopefully I do. So let's take a look at those numbers. In terms of points, they're ranked 17th. In terms of yards, they're tied 23rd. In terms of yards per play, they're tied 26th. In terms of first downs, they're tied 26th. In terms of passing yards, they're near dead last. They're ranked 30th. In terms of rushing yards, on the other hand, it's a complete night and day difference. They're ranked 6th. In terms of passing first downs, again, ranked 30th. In terms of rushing first downs, again, opposites attract. They're ranked 9th. And then you take a look at penalties. They're near the bottom of the league in terms of penalties. They're ranked 26th. In terms of scoring drive percentage, they're ranked 16th. So again, kind of middle of the pack. Then you take a look at their turnover drive percentage. It's one of the best in the league. It's tied 7th. Then you take a look at their sacks. That's tied 2nd. Their tackles for loss, they're tied 9th. Third down conversion percentage, they're ranked 6th. Their red zone percentage, they're ranked 16th. And their fourth down conversion percentage, to kind of sum it all up and finish it off, is ranked 27th. So again, much like I did with the Lions offense, a lot of stats, a lot of data, a lot of stuff to go over. Let me break it down for you. Let me crunch it for you. Again, when you take a look at the big line stats, such as points, yards, first downs, passing yards, and all that nonsense, this is a defense that does not do very well in keeping, one, teams out of the end zone, or two, not giving them a whole bunch of yards through the air, whatever way you want to call it. The only thing that this defense that the Chargers have is really good at is this. One, they're good at getting turnovers. Two, they're good at stopping the run. And three, they're good at getting after the quarterback. That's what they're good at. They're not good at stopping offenses through the air. They're not good at stopping offenses from getting into the end zone or scoring points, and they are certainly not good at stopping offenses from getting a whole heck of a lot of yards, which is something that, again, with a defensive-minded head coach, I would think would be something of a much higher priority, or at least show a much better output than what we've been seeing from the Chargers. This is part of the reason why some people have been saying that Brandon Staley has one of the hottest seats in the entire NFL of almost any head coach, because it's like, listen, he's a defensive-minded head coach with a top 10, top 5 offense with the Chargers. You would think that'd be a match made in heaven to potentially go to the playoffs, but yet the Chargers have struggled under his reign as the head coach of the Chargers. Now, here's where we're going to start talking about something that the Chargers do bring to the table very well. They are very, very good, like I said, getting after the quarterback, applying pressure, getting into the backfield. This is something that the Chargers do really well. Again, they're tied for 2nd in the league in sacks. They've got 31 of them. That's pretty impressive. They got a lot of tackles for loss. They got 44 of them. That's tied for 9th, like I said. And again, where does this all come from? Well, when you take a look at what the Chargers have up front on their defense, it's no surprise. They've got a lot of good talent. Obviously, they've got Khalil Mack. Obviously, they got Bosa, but they've also got this young guy that just came out of college from USC. I believe his name is Tuli Tupo or something to that effect. I do apologize if I mispronounced his name, but the point is, this Chargers defense has got a lot of good edge rushers, and it's got a lot of guys that are able to bring the pressure either inside or outside and get tackles behind the line of scrimmage. This is a defense that knows how to bring the heat. And let me just tell you something. Those 3 guys that I just mentioned, think about this one for a minute. In terms of Tuli, Bosa, and Mack, they comprised of 19.5 of the team's 31 sacks. That's 63% between those 3 guys alone. And then when you take a look at those 3 guys in terms of their tackle for losses, they comprise 20 of the 43 teams' tackle for loss. So again, for almost 50% of their tackle for loss percentage. That tells me one simple thing. Those 3 guys are a high handful for any offense to deal with, no matter what offensive line you're talking about. So again, if I'm the Lions offense, I am paying very, very close attention to all 3 of those buggers. Now, that's the Chargers defense in terms of the nutshell. Now, I'm going to say this. There are going to be Chargers fans that might watch this, and they're going to say, well, the way I'm talking is making it sound like the Chargers aren't all that good, but they're going to want to say, well, the Chargers just won their last 2 games, and they only held opponents to 19 points, so the Chargers defense is getting overlooked. Well, let's be fair here, because let's think about the Chargers' last 2 opponents. The last 2 opponents they had were the Jets and the Bears. Now, I'll say this. The Jets have a really great defense, but the one thing that the Jets share with the Bears is terrible, terrible offense. When you think about it, the Chargers just went up against 2 of the worst offenses and 2 of the worst or inexperienced quarterbacks in the NFL. You don't believe me? Think about this for a minute. You take a look at the Bears quarterback right now, which is Tyson Bagent, because Justin Fields is still trying to come back from an injury. Pardon me. Tyson Bagent, as a quarterback for the Bears, has got the how do I put this? He's dead last in passer rating, and he's almost kind of mid-tier when it comes to QBR. Well, when you take a look at Zach Wilson, who the Chargers just played for the Jets, he is near the bottom in terms of passer rating, and he's near the bottom in terms of QBR. So you're talking about two quarterbacks that are not really good and are not really going to lead teams to a lot of victories. Again, they're pretty much at this point either going to be journeyman quarterbacks or backup quarterbacks, and that's the truth of the matter. So the best way I can describe the Chargers beating these two teams and beating those two quarterbacks is kind of like taking candy away from a baby. It wasn't going to be that hard to beat Zach Wilson and Tyson Bagent. I'm sorry, it just wasn't. Because, in fact, if you think about it, tally those two quarterbacks together's performances in the games that they played against the Chargers, this is what you get. Between the two of Zach Wilson and Tyson Bagent, they threw 58 completions to 86 attempts. That comes out to 67.4 completion percentage. They threw 495 yards. They had no touchdown passes, 2 interceptions, 9 sacks, a 21.8 QBR rating. That was me estimating that from ESPN's algorithm, and a 72.6 passer rating. That's absolutely terrible. That tells me right now that unless the opposing defenses played lights out, which, let's be fair and honest, neither the Jets nor the Bears defense did that, there was virtually no chance in hell that either the Bears or the Jets were going to beat the Chargers. Just no chance whatsoever. But again, for my Lions fans, there is a ray of hope here. In fact, it's not just a ray of hope. It is a rather really big ray of hope. Because let's flip this on its backside here. Let's flip this on the other side of the coin, shall we? When we just take a look at the fact that the Chargers have played against two really bad teams and really look good, let's take a look at how the Chargers have played against some really good teams and some really good quarterbacks, namely the Chiefs, the Cowboys, and the Dolphins. When you take a look at those teams, which are led by Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott, and Tua Tagovailoa, you get a completely, and I mean this, a completely different picture than what you just got talking about with Tyson Bagent and Zach Wilson. When you take a look at what those three quarterbacks did in their respective games against the Chargers, this is what you get. You get 81 completions for 117 attempts, 69.2 completion percentage, 1,162 yards, 8 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, only 6 sacks, a 79.2 QBR estimate from me from the ESPN algorithm, and a 116.8 passer rating. Oh, that's pretty damn good. That is absolutely fantastic production from quarterbacks. And here's the other little fact I want to throw out here. Yeah, the Chargers only gave up 19 points to the Jets and the Bears. You want to know how many points they gave up to the freaking Chiefs, Dolphins, and Cowboys? They gave up 87. And oh, by the way, they beat the Jets and Bears, right? Well, they lost to the Chargers. The Chargers lost to the Chiefs, Cowboys, and Dolphins. So again, you're talking about a literal dichotomy of difference between how the Chargers play against good quarterbacks and good teams versus bad quarterbacks and bad teams. It's a complete night and day difference. So I wanted to point that out there because that does make a huge difference. That makes a huge world of separation in terms of being able to understand what kind of opponent the Lions are getting set to play up against here on Sunday. Now, when we start talking about the Lions in general, in terms of the fact of their offense, we first and foremost have to keep this in consideration. Number one, like I talked about in my previous episode yesterday, and I'm going to put the link to that one back up at the top. When you think about the Lions offense, number one, as it has been reported, the Lions offense is reportedly being 100% healthy because all of our starting players are now officially back. That's talking about Ragnow, that's talking about Jonah Jackson, and most importantly, that's talking about David Montgomery. So as I like to call him, just Monty. When you consider all of those players are back, that's going to be a huge boost for the Lions' offensive production. No doubt about that. And again, when you think about this, like I just said in the very beginning of the show, the Lions' offense is still a top 10 offense. But we haven't had Jonah Jackson in the lineup for a couple of weeks. We haven't had David Montgomery in the lineup for a couple of weeks. And we just lost Ragnow last week. But yet, we're still a top 10 offense. That's why I'm saying huge shot in the arm for this Lions team going up against the Chargers. And again, think about this one. When you consider the fact that we're getting back David Montgomery, that when tandem with what the Lions have to offer on offense already makes this just an absolutely enticing matchup. Because again, like I said earlier, the Chargers' defense against the pass is absolutely atrocious. So if I'm the Lions, I am trying to throw the ball all over the Chargers because that's what they're really bad at. So this, in my opinion, should be a career day for Jared Goff. And again, when you take a look at Jared Goff's numbers really quick as I put them up on the screen, he should have a very good day. Again, he's a top 10 quarterback, and the statistics back it up. Again, 200 completions for 293 attempts, 68.3 completion percentage, which is tied 8th in the NFL, 2,174 yards, which is ranked for 8th, 7.4 in average to throw, tied for 9th, 12 touchdowns, which is tied for 11th, only 5 picks, a 96.4 passer rating, which is tied for 12th, and a 64.4 QBR, which is ranked 9th. When you take a look at how bad this Chargers defense has been against the pass, which again, it's ranked 30th, versus Jared Goff, who is a top 10 quarterback who has all of these weapons, it'd be no small wonder if Jared Goff literally goes off. Just saying that as kind of a little like tongue-in-cheek rhyme. But again, it's not just about Jared Goff here. I was just talking about David Montgomery. One thing we know about this Lions offense is the running game is absolutely paramount to getting everything else going. Well, now we've seen what Jahmyr Gibbs can do. Jahmyr Gibbs is an absolute weapon out of the backfield, either running or receiving. You add Montgomery back in there, and both of these guys are now humming at full strength. You've now got an offense that is absolutely just primed to do some real big damage. Because again, you take a look at Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, they're both top 25 running backs in terms of their ability to run the football right now. And again, I'll try and put the stats up on the screen so that way you guys can see it. But these two are a dynamic duo. I like to call them lightning and thunder because it's like, okay, you've got freaking Gibbs who's lightning in a bottle, and you've got David Montgomery who will literally just bulldoze you for freaking days. Again, lightning and thunder. And then, finally, you take a look at the receiving components that the Lions have. Again, the Lions use all of their receivers, and Jared Goff spreads the ball around very, very effectively to everybody, whether it's Amon-Ra St. Brown, whether it's Sam Laporta, whether it's Josh Reynolds, whether it's Khalif Raymond. Jared Goff is very, very good of effectively and efficiently spreading the ball around. But again, when you consider what Jared Goff has been able to do with these wide receivers, and that's not a knock against the wide receivers, I'm just simply saying what this whole offense has done with Jared Goff at the helm, it's absolutely just stupendous at what they've been able to do. Again, Amon-Ra St. Brown is ranked top 10 in terms of statistical production in both receiving yards and also in receptions. And when we take a look at Sam Laporta, he is top 5 out of all tight ends in terms of his production because he's ranked 4th in receptions, he's tied 5th in yards, and he's tied 3rd in touchdowns. Absolutely just a machine when it comes to tight ends. And oh, by the way, he's only a rookie. So again, my whole point here is this. When you start taking a look at this Lions offense against this Chargers defense, let's keep some things in perspective here. Yes, the Chargers have a really, really good defensive line and edge rushers in Khalil Mack, in Bosa, in Thule. These are all guys that will really get after the quarterback. They'll bring the pressure. They'll get in the backfield. But there's one thing that a lot of people are not considering here. The Chargers have not played very good against top-end offenses or top-end quarterbacks. In fact, oftentimes when they do, they get shredded to bits. So for me, it's like, okay, the Lions have they have a really good 1-2 tandem in terms of running the ball. So I expect the Lions will still be able to run the ball with some decent success. They've got a top 10 quarterback in Jared Goff who has multiple weapons that he trusts in Khalif Raymond, Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Josh Reynolds. And hopefully we can get Jameson Williams there as well. And hopefully we can also get Donovan Peoples-Jones, who we just traded for, also in the mix. So again, there's plenty of weapons that Jared Goff and this offense can really use to dominate opposing teams such as the Chargers. And just to kind of put this in the coaching perspective here, who do I trust more to show up to the game ready to play or ready to coach in this case? Ben Johnson or Brandon Staley? I think the answer is pretty much in the pudding because it's like, okay, who's got a top 10 offense versus who does not have a top 10 defense? Pretty self-explanatory. But again, that's the evidence. That's what I have in terms of my logic, my reason, my statistical breakdown and analysis. So I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. I thank you all for tuning into the show. And with that having been said, I just want to say thank you all for watching yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage y'all to do one of these three things: like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If by chance you subscribed in the past and you forgot to do so at the time, I want to highly encourage y'all to, again, make sure you do subscribe. And also, if you just subscribed, you've not yet had a chance to do so, again, make sure you subscribe. But also, please, make sure you hit that bell notification icon along with it. Again, subscription numbers are always going up, but we want to make sure you turn on that bell notification icon so that way you guys never miss any more content that I push out. So that way, as soon as I drop something, you always know when it's out there, so that way you guys can watch it, comment on it, and we can have a lot of good discussion. Speaking of good discussion, I also encourage y'all, please share this content with your Lions friends and family members. Share it here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and everywhere you can with anybody and everybody that you can. It really helps me out, and I want to continue to have great discussions with you, the fans, whether you're a Lions fan or not. And with that having been said, I just want to say thank you all for tuning into the show. Hopefully you enjoyed the content, and if I gained your subscription, I just want to say thank you. And to everybody, I just want to say God bless, and until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.